everybody. What we got today is a little talk, and this talk was about what we call a planet. So most of you people know that the planet is actually what they call the Earth, but none of you people know what it really means. The planet, it means the net of the plane. So the plane has the net, and the net consists of different cells. And those cells are spread all over the net. They're connected to each other, just like those ornaments on the wall here. And all of them, at the same time, are separate. So they're connected, but they're separate. Just like we have in the mobile phone connection, where we have cell towers which cover each cell. And that's the real reason we have them in so numerous numbers. Just like cell block in a jail, you cannot get out of the cell block because it's locked. And the one who's got the key from the cell block kind of owns the place and plans what to do. So that's the second question about the planners that you people asked me to make a video about those planners. So you know those planners. They're right in front of your eyes. That's not everybody, of course. That's not everyone we know in politics. But those are key players that really execute the plan and play the game. So the planner is always a console of different players. And those players that I've been talking about got those leaders. And those leaders actually the planners. But also we have a covered operation called the conspiracy theories, which boils all this crappy information which is not really proven by anybody, because every time you try and prove it, you get to set a conspiracy theory stamp on your forehead and you say conspiracy theories. Oh, he's conspiracy theorist. Don't mind him. Just don't listen to this guy because he's a conspiracy theorist. Of course, because everything is what's made in this politics or whatever planning thing is a conspiracy, because separate people meet in one place and have a council. That's what we have from ancient times, where so-called democracy was established. Just a way to cover this council, because really where the power is the council of planners. So planners know how to execute this, and that's why they can be planning whatever they want to, because they have a horizon of planning in numbers of centuries. So they know, like, in 200 years and 300 years and 400 years and stuff like this. That's why they can survive any kind of flood. That's why they can create this and be safe from whatever reason. And that's why they know what we are doing when we try to do it. And that's why they can lead us, stay in front of us, saying, oh, whatever guys, let's do this, let's do it, go there. And you go there, there's nothing there, and you just like a fool because you didn't understand he was planned to do so, and you were planned to go there and get nothing. Just all those people, they lost their lives for whatever reasons. And all this for just to cover this planning thing. Because it's simple as that. You can't be, silly and stupid until you realize that those people in front of our eyes and playing us, they planning whatever, and they have a horizon of planning which is a lot longer than yours. And they can change whatever faces, families, clans, move from one plane to another plane. And that's it. That's how they do it. And that's the only reason they want to do it, because we are really precious for them, because we have many creations, we have reproduction, we have biological organ traffic, which is completely free here for them. And why not? Why not? We're doing whatever with those who are weaker than us, than we are, like animals, like we abuse just everybody, every country which is third world countries hardly abused. We can see like 50 years ago there were just a bunch of more abusement, and even now we have many countries where abusement is really used, and slavery is whatever, everywhere. We have slavery everywhere in every single country. Just look at it. Even China, which is supposed to be a globalist leader right now, it has probably more examples than slavery than any other country. That's why they have such numbers, like 1.4 billion people. We're gonna talk about this a little bit later, but I tell you what. For example, let's not talk about China. Let's talk about India, which was a British colony, and not long ago, and was freed, and right now it has like 1.3 billion people, something like that. And you know what? How many people is living in the cities of this India? 75 million people is living in all those big cities. 75 million. Guess where the rest of the population lives? In rural areas. So nobody knows, do we have them or we don't have them. Just split the number of square miles of India and you can find just ridiculous numbers in rural area. Nobody's seen those people. So who knows how many people is living there, because there's no system of calculation, there's no system of this in control of this process. It's just made up. So is China, which has like half of territory is complete deserts and 0 people living in, and they still have the largest population. This is ridiculous, guys. Look at the China's graphics of population. You can see sometimes like they lose 70 million people like in the 19th century, and then they gained like 35 million people at the same time. Just, numbers are crazy there. I might be showing those numbers a little bit later, but I'll be not specific. So whatever numbers they show us, they say like 7 billion people here. You cannot just believe this, because it might not be true. Because the depopulation program runs, and their results are splendid, because all those countries saying like we have like this law or that law made, so like planners are doing whatever they're doing just to eat this population and don't tell us the real numbers. Understand this, because We are losing in information war and might not be losing in real population with those countries which are supposed to like overgrow us and completely waste the northern civilizations like Germans, like British, like Americans, like Russians, and all those European race, so-called European race. We might not be losing yet, but they tell us we have small numbers, and those countries have like large numbers. Ooh. They bring us all those migrants, say like 10 million people, 30 million people. Okay, we see those migrants, but it's only 30 million. They say like a billion people there. Why not they go here? Because there's no billion. There's not enough people to just, just completely ridiculous numbers of those persons per square miles in India and China, in those areas where people actually live. Just ridiculous numbers. Look at those numbers. You won't find so many people there. Probably in some areas we can see like a whole bunch of people, but it's still not enough to get this in the country's level. You won't find so many people. Probably I'm right in this, but it's still to be researched. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. And I know many people were asking about depopulation. Bill Gates and all these promoters, marketing managers of this program, they're still billionaires and they're smarter than all you people. And they can tell you these big pictures were planned. Of course, you won't see like, oh, this depopulation program just started like 20 years ago, and China was lying us since what? Since the beginning of 19th century. Yes, they know if they captured the power in the 19th century, that's the real time when they started this BS. So look at the end and the middle of 19th century, compare the numbers, compare the rate of birth, and you can see where they shifted it to the level of over and over larger in the numbers. That's the end of 19th century in China. Look at these numbers. Probably you will find very interesting because it's right in front of our eyes. You cannot just clean all those books, all those archives. Of course you can do some job and you can invert the all around information, but in those times when they were cleaning up the street from the mud and all this stuff, fixing all these houses, gathering people from other cells to this cell to cover up all this stuff, they literally brought people to Moscow, and Moscow was completely free of people. And they started bringing all these people from rural areas, which actually survived much of this mud flood. And those people were just wasted, they didn't know what to do. They told them, you go there, you dig, or whatever, you rebuild. So they found the specialists, of course, who were getting paid, and they found those slaves who were wasted, because since you have a year without a summer at least once, you may lose everything, because if you're not prepared for this, we have a word in Russian which is called stupid when you don't have a stove. So at that time before the flood, people didn't have a stove. They didn't want to have a stove because it was completely hot, and Russia was exporting pineapples, whatever. People were walking in light clothes in a winter, and we're completely, you know, undressed in comparison to what we have today. Because today we're like, see, I'm in this warm hoodie because it's pretty cold. Although I'm inside the room, still it's not very hot here because we have already snow today. And we can see pictures in December in that famous rebellion of Russian nobility against the Tsar, where they were completely undressed, like looking like what we have right now in autumn or spring, just like clothes, you know, jackets and stuff like this. So think about it, think about the population, think about the climate change. They can easily shift climate because they have all these technologies. And as what I've said, cells and all this net right now is captured by those parasites who are actually connected with each other. They can move, they can transfer. What they're doing now is they opening the dark Navi creatures, opening the gate for them to be born here. If they get born with our women, they can stay here and become +1 parasite and so on. So as we grow, they can come and enforce their troops, their people here, and they can create even an army. That's what about the first flood that I've been reading in Facebook. So people were describing why Vatican covers up pre-flood civilization. You can find this post on Facebook if you subscribe to Facebook, and you can find it like, oh, well, I said like last flood was like 1840s. Some of my friends posted like last flood before that was in the early 17th century or 18th century. Yes, of course, there was another flood before that, and that's the technology of completely ruining any kind of civilization. So like, you get one flood, like 100 years pass, you like rebuild. They see, this one is good. We send in a mud flood there, and they completely ruin that country or that city, whatever. If they want to ruin the country, they make an ideology so you can have a big city inside, and all those powerful people go there, and it's called the capital. That's why we have capitalism, because that's the easy way to control. You see, this is capital, we send a mud flood there, no capital, no elite, nobody can say something, because we can go there and say like, oh, you are splendid Ukrainians, or you splendid Germans, you be Germans, and oh, you're French, okay, and you're British, yes, and you're Scandinavian, yes, you're Russian, in fact you're Belarusian, right, that's how they do it, that's how they split. Think about it. And please, when you talk about the flat square Enoch 3D map or whatever, 4D map, watch my video about 4D. I know it's hard to understand how this mirror reflection 4D works, but it's really easy if you see it on these ornaments of ancient people on those houses. So you see like those. This is how it works. Understand it. This is how these many possibilities, many varieties, many cells work. Each cell is locked, and wherever you go to 4D reflection map of your own cell, just with another variety. So if you move like from North Pole to the South Pole, you eventually, straight across the North Pole, you eventually just find yourself in the reflection of the previous map. That's why we can see this round ball, so-called round ball effect in some places. And there's no circuit of ice on what we see on the map of United Nations. This is not what they mean. They mean like they circuit the reflection, and if reflection is circuit, it's a ball to the comprehension of the 3D person. Although it's completely flat and you cannot see any curvature. Okay, that's how it works. You don't need to find those models about the sun, like it's rotating, and the Earth is rotating on a spiral, and it's moving around all those stars and stuff like this. It's just not that hard. We are flat, and everything is rotating in this 4D reflection type of spiral, and that's why we have those axes of rotation. This is not a pole, this is axis of rotation of this outside decoration of this cell. This is not the decoration itself, it's the 4D itself, because fourth dimension is time. And how can you find yourself in time when you are inside the cell? Okay, you cannot find it, and that's why they give us all those signs, so we can find ourselves in time and comprehend where we are when we go in somewhere, so we can calculate the distance. Because if we can calculate the distance, we have no time. Whatever, we didn't have anything. We wouldn't have any map. We wouldn't have any navigation itself, because everything is connected to time and the destination. And the vector of the movement calculates the speed, which you calculate the distance with the time. Okay? I know it's hard to understand because I'm not a native speaker, but whatever I say needs to be researched by those people who can understand it. You don't show those whatever Enoch or whatever. This is not the word. It's just reflection of a 4D planet. Okay? We have a plane net. Okay, thanks for watching. See you later.